Especially when they're this young and trying to learn, it's always quite comical. Off we go. Be gentle with your siblings. Remember, they're bigger than you. And one day when they turn around and want to play back, right? You said that it's like he's playing bumper cars. Bumper elephant. Although luckily elephants are so tough though, that this little one charging into them really wouldn't hurt at all. It would be like a gentle nudge. This is spectacular. You enjoying this, Manu? Very cute, eh? Whee! Off it goes again. It's a pity we're in a non-off-roading area. Otherwise, I would have loved to have gone up and around and maybe gotten a different position. It could have been very, very nice. It would have made for a spectacular action broadcast, but it'll be tricky to try and keep the cars out of frame. That's my only concern. You see, there's lots of them driving up and down, up and down. Next time, though, we will get more elephants playing like this, that's for sure. I think everybody's getting ready to go home now. Very nice. Okay, well, it seems as though that little Ellie's quietening down. Let's see what's happening with our lions. Look, not much. What a surprise, kitty cats. But conserve your energy. It's important to conserve all your energy. There you go. One little one has decided to get up. Okay, well, I think we're going to leave these cats now and start heading towards the escarpment. However, Tristan is still bumbling around in the Sabi sand, and he hasn't got the Leopard King name for nothing. Maybe he'll find you a spotted cat.
Now, as you can see, a welcome sight at Djuma, which we haven't been seeing too much of over the last few months, is buffalo. And so these guys, unfortunately, are very far away. They're slowly actually in the opposite direction to what I was hoping for. They're heading deeper towards the Manyeleti, so they're around Sydney's dam and just slowly meandering their way northwards as they feed. Now, the reason why I wanted to come here and check on them is because I heard that they were around this morning, but that there was a pride of lions that was hunting them. And so I was like, hello, elephant. Where have you come from? That's out of nowhere. There's a little airport behind the dam wall. So there's two of Africa's largest and most dangerous together. Young bull Ellie, the looks of things in front, followed by a couple others. There comes the rest of the herd, which is quite nice, and the buffalo that are meandering off into the Manyeleti. But there we go. How nice is that? Very cool to see the two together. It's always a welcome sight. Now, unfortunately, I think these animals are all going to be a little disappointed as they make their way over that wall, because there is very little water left, and after a herd of buffalo have been around, they generally would have drunk most of what is there. And so I think these Ellies are going to have to go a little further if they're wanting water. The good news is that they're heading towards us, so hopefully that means that they are going to come onto Djuma, and you can see they're all in single file, making their way as quickly as they can towards that water hole that is there at Sydney. So there's a little kind of trough that sometimes has water in, although it looks as though fairly barren at this stage. And I always feel sorry for Ellies when it's very hot like this and they get to a water point and they want to drink and there's nothing there, and kind of see disappointment in their look. And look how the trunk is up, almost as if to try and smell, is there water somewhere here that we can go and drink and at least get some sort of quenching of the thirst that they must develop as they try and meander through this heat. So I always feel a little sad for them, although they look as though they're quite dark in color, which means that they must have come from a water hole fairly recently. I don't think they've been too far from water, so I suppose we shouldn't feel too bad. But amazing how the trunks are all up. Look, everybody's trunks up. Very cool, isn't it? They're all kind of sniffing and trying to take in what's on the breeze and just work out where exactly there's going to be some water to drink. And let's see now. Seems as though they found the mud there. Definitely, there comes one of the big. She's monstrous. It's an absolutely huge female. So it seems as though just in that corner section, so maybe a little bit of water as well. It seems the buffalo left a little bit for the guys to have a drink of. Now, in terms of the buffalo, I would say the herd is probably around 150, 200. They're kind of just disappearing, so it's to kind of work out exactly how many are there, but it's quite far to the right, and when we first got here, they were far more visible, and they kind of moving away from us. So maybe 150 is probably where I would guess that it's going. And the lines apparently have gone into Manyeleti, so the buffalo are pretty much walking straight to where. Catch is saying Ellie's everywhere. It has been very good Mara and in Djuma, and particularly today, it's had wonderful elephant sighting on her side, and now also have some Ellie's on our. It's been really nice to see Ellie's back in the area. We went through quite a tough lean phase in terms of elephant viewing, and so really happy that we've got a few Ellie's that have moved in, and it's been really busy with Ellie's. I know Stephen Scott had a number of encounters over the past few weeks as they've walked around, so always quite exciting when the Ellie's are around and keeps you on your toes a little bit more and makes you a bit more aware of what's going on. But fortunately our buffalo are going to disappear fairly shortly. Our Ellie's are also almost visible anymore. It's a bit of a shame. They're kind of down in the little dirt. See the backs of the Ellie's there in the distance, almost a bit like the Mara views, isn't it, where kind of everything is a little further away. So hopefully they are starting to move back towards our side, which is good news. So Scarlett, you're wondering if there's a leader in an elephant herd. There is most definitely. So there's a matriarch that will dictate what goes on. So she might not always be the one walking in front, but she will be the one communicating and talking, and you'll often find that her siblings, or her daughters or offspring will is kind of in command, and as they kind of communicate with each other, so they'll work how to maneuver themselves and how to move, and the herd will then follow certain female instructions. So there is most certainly a patriarchal female that dictates what goes on within the herd structure and where they go and what they get up to during the day. And they're into the thicket and coming south towards our boundary. I'm here to move a little bit because we lose a bit of signal. Gremlins are very bad around Sydney's dam, so I'm just staying up on the crest at the moment that I can at least see them, because if we move to where they are, I think we might just lose reception. So we'll probably just sit. Not forget about the lonely male impala that's in amongst the giants at the moment. And there comes the rest of the herd slowly coming up now as well. Our little male impala. Hello fella. Yes, you are also very important. Like I said, can't discount our male impala as well. Although every time I see an impala now, I just this morning sighting of that head in it with those kind of like ribbons of meat coming down with a hyena attached to it, swinging from it. It's a bit of a macabre scene to think about, but I don't know, it'll take a few days until I start forgetting. And unfortunately, every male impala is going to have the same look to it from now. I try and kind of forget. Probably try and move as well. Like I say, we might have a few gremlins and a few little kind of break up in signal, but stay with us. We hopefully won't use too much as we go down here. It's just a little that we need to do. So in fact, rather than actually lose you guys, let's rather go across to Scotty D, who is, I think, gone towards Chitwa, and I'm sure has lots of interesting things to tell you.
I'm not sure who's giving Tristan his information, but he is wrong, because I've gone nowhere near Chitwa. I am in the center of Djuma, driving around, not really knowing what to do. The heat is taking it out of me. And it's so hot, you know, unless you are lucky at a waterhole with some animals, it tends to be fairly tricky going, and feeling hot and bothered, so everything's kind of since it cools down, which is what I would like to be doing. But we still have a chance of being surprised by something. Hopefully Tundi will head towards the remains of an impala kill. That's what I'm hoping for now. Tristan both decided to go into a den side when it's still so hot, trigger her to not be so welcoming. So we're going to leave it until it cools down, But not to say she's not going to leave the den and head back to the kill. So the den site's just up on our right. It's about a quarter of a mile away from us, and her trajectory back to the kill would bring her out onto this road. She would cut through these bushes on our right and then eventually pop onto this road, cross this road, and then a small riverbed back to the kill. So I'm going to be checking very carefully here to see if I can find any of her tracks. I'm not feeling hugely positive, to be honest, due to the heat, but for lack of better ideas I thought we would come and give this a bash. Yesterday afternoon it wasn't as hot. She had made her way back to the kill at around 4 o'clock, but it wasn't nearly as hot as today, so I think that's going to have an impact on her movements. But there are some good prospects for a little bit later on, definitely worth sticking around for, because let's hope that she is still at the den when Tristan pops in there a little bit later. We still haven't spent any kind of quality time with her and her cub yet. We've only had a few glimpses. Hello Dev, possibly Bev. You would like to know what the temperature is now. It's I would say about 40 degrees Celsius now, and considering that it's 5 o'clock in the evening, it's quite in Fahrenheit. I'm not too sure what that equates to, probably the or hundreds, or at least 30 degrees Celsius. It's very hot, but unlike some areas where you get a dry heat, there's quite a lot of humidity in the low veld where we are here, so it's not a hot sticky heat as opposed to a hot dry heat. And literally, I think possibly just from today, I mean, vegetation's taken an absolute pounding. Driving around, looking around, everything's looking a little bit tired and floppy in terms of the vegetation. It's not bright and green and turgid. Everything's looking a bit. But I'm hoping this hot weather is going to bring in some clouds and some rain. It's now rainy season, so we could expect some rain in the next few weeks. We've hardly had any rain since I've been here for 2 weeks now. And it's here early November. Average. I think it's fair to say that there's some rain that needs to fall should this area get its allotted.
Oh my goodness, Scotty D, what has just happened? The gremlins attacked you and you did not even defend yourself. Sorry about that, everybody, but we're back. You're with me in the Mara now, and we could not resist showing you this beautiful elephant bull who is lit up in, well, golden hour. It is stunning, and golden hour is not golden hour in the Mara. It's a lot less than that. It's like golden 25 minutes, but when you can catch it, it is quite special. Now, I'm quite interested to see what happens with this elephant bull, because when we arrived, we've been watching him for a couple of minutes now, just walking down towards us. And he stopped, and his whole attitude changed towards us. He started sort of swaying his head a little bit, you know, got a bit of movement into his step, and then his trunk was twisting towards us, and he's smelling us, and he put it up, he smelled the air. So I wonder if he's going to sneakily feed towards us. I reckon he would. I reckon if we sat here for the next hour, it'd probably take him a little bit less than that, but he'd feed straight towards us and come and tower over the car. He looks like he's in one of those moods, and you can see clearly the temporal glands are secreting. So we know that that's an overstimulation of adrenaline. It could mean a number of different things. Possibly he is going to come into must. There are lots and lots of bulls at the moment just coming into must. We saw one yesterday. I saw two yesterday. Saw a couple the day before. So they are around. So you need to just be a bit careful of them and make sure that you do watch them. I don't particularly like it when big elephant bulls come and tower over your car. I don't mind it when the youngsters come up and investigate and have a little play around, but it's always good to be careful. Now, LJK, you said that you could watch the elephants all day. Me too. They're my absolute favorite animal of them all. They're so perfect. But now there's a car coming behind us, so I need to very quickly move off of the road. Sorry. Aww. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, because I know that he's slightly edgy. You can watch him as he goes past. Look at this. I'm not going to stop though. I'm just going to crawl past. But he did. He basically just put his ears out towards us. He looked at us. You can see he's watching us very, very carefully. He's not going to come charging towards us, but it's definitely a sign. And he's saying, I'm a little bit agitated today. I don't want anybody to get close to me. Just give me my room type thing. But he wasn't actually approaching us, so we'll leave him. But then also there was a car behind us. So I don't want to eat their dust self as you go along. Yeah. Right, what a nice day. Hey Manu? Pretty successful game drive. Now, Glory, sorry, I was listening to that question very carefully because the wind is quite strong as we drive. You were wondering whether elephants have any nerves at the end of their trunks. Most certainly. That is such a sensitive part of their body. Their trunk has actually got lots and lots of bristles, which I would assume work in a similar way that whiskers would work on a cat. So they do. Oh, look at, there's our silhouettes. Well, not silhouettes, our shadows. I'm waving now. I don't think you can see my wave though. Anyways, how cool is that? I got so distracted, but mind you, that's an amazing shot. But stop it, because I need to watch the road. And I totally want to look at that rather. Sorry, Glory. See how the ADD just kicks in there? It's so hard, I can't help myself. So yes, they do. And then, basically, they're very, very sensitive. Elephants use their trunks for so many different things. And sense of smell, and then, of course, feeling. They're always investigating with their trunks. And that's another really amazing thing to watch with young elephants. And we saw it yesterday afternoon when we were struggling through the marsh and all the wet roads and slippery roads. And that little one hadn't quite got proper control over it, hadn't trained all the muscles, and was just sort of feeling around mom, which was quite nice. So yeah, that was very, very cool. I've had a very pleasant game drive this afternoon. It has actually been a lot of fun. It went very quickly, and I don't know. I'm glad we don't have the heat that Djuma is experiencing at the moment. So I'm going to send you back down to the sunny South Africa where the heat is pelting down onto the boys. Hope you've got your sunscreen out, and I hope they keep nice and cool.
Now, unfortunately, our elephants were in a serious rush, and they decided to run across the boundary into Simambili. They came out of Buffelshoek and straight across to Simambili by the gate there, so unfortunately we don't have them anymore, but that's okay. At least it's now starting to cool down a little bit, which is really fantastic. That edge is starting to kind of dissipate now, and hopefully that's going to mean animals are moving. We can see the buffalo up and walking, elephants are moving, and so it's that time of the day things start happening. Things are starting to now want to get to water. They've slept in the shade for the hottest part of the day, and it's now time to rehydrate and to start getting going. And we'll find that while they'll be a little bit sleepy for a little longer, I think they're going to start awakening shortly too. So it's almost the right time to start heading towards Tundi's den. Maybe we get lucky, no one's been there this afternoon, and so we're going to go and try and see if we can find her again and maybe get a little glimpse of the cub. I'm hoping that because it's later in the afternoon, it might be a situation where they're going to have a little bit of playtime. Now there's a really beautiful lizard here that's just going to hide from me, isn't it? No, let's see. It's going to, might just, no, you're hiding from me, lizard. But you can just see his head is giving him away. So it's tree Angama that is sitting there with his bright, beautiful blue head that is just on top of the branch and doing his best camouflage. So what he's doing is he's just, you see, look how he's flattening himself and sinking himself behind that branch and in the shadow so as we can't see him. So even though he's got a blue head, he actually can camouflage quite well because he'll just steering where he is and trying to get that between him and where we are. Although what he's doing now is just reducing that body and being one eye above so he can keep an eye on us and make sure that we're not coming towards him. But how beautiful is that coloration? It's almost the same as those woodland kingfishers. It's got the same kind of iridescent turquoise color to it. It really is a beautiful lizard. The rest of the body is pretty much kind of camouflage colorations, and when they've got this blue head is when they're really trying to mate. So the males get this blue head or mating. Camouflage unbelievable. Sit like that and they're just behind this sort of tree. It really is incredible to see, and you can see, look how his head is changing color. You see that it's gone from bright blue, it's now going more camouflaged. Isn't that incredible? So much like the chameleons have chromatophores that allow them to adapt their coloration, so this lizard also changed its head color because it feels like there's a threat now, so that blue head is attracting attention to it. So it's now changed to the coloration of the tree and is camouflaging perfectly. Isn't that amazing? Absolutely beautiful, an incredible display of how fast that coloration can change. So once it kind of felt like it was him, it's now gone more camouflaged, and if you drove past now, you would really struggle to see that lizard. It looks just like part of the tree. Absolutely amazing. Very, very cool. And amazing how fast that changes. You would think it would take a long time to go from bright blue head that is displaying to a female to that sort of camouflage coloration, but you saw there it was a matter of minutes, and it is now perfectly aligned with that tree. Wonderful stuff. Very, very cool. Thank you, little lizard. That was amazing to see you. Now, of course, it's going to try and hide. If I try to go any other way, it's probably just going to shift around that sort of bark and try and just kind of keep as camouflaged as possible. Now, Mia, you're wondering if we get any pied kingfishers here, because we were talking about kingfishers earlier in the dive. So yes, we do. Around Chitwa Dam is the best place to see them. We don't see too many here on Djuma itself, but at Chitwa Dam there is a pair that I've seen. In fact, I think there's two pairs there that are often around, and so we do see them quite regularly there. So next time I'm around Chitwa Dam, hopefully you'll be watching, and I'll be able to then try and get them on the screen for you. You obviously fan of the and it is a very beautiful bird. Now, of course, with kingfishers, they do have a very cool way of telling whether they're male or female. Most kingfishers you can't tell at all, but giant and pied kingfishers both have different markings to when it comes to male and female, and so there's dimorphism between the two. And the pied kingfisher is quite an easy one to remember. You've just got to remember that the female, well, she has her top on so as that she's not indecently exposed, so she's got a little crop top on the exterior, and the male, well, he's got his belt and his bow tie because he's going out to have an evening out on the town. So if you want to remember which one is male and female, male has got his bow tie and his belt on, and female has got her top on. So remember, it's been a good way to remember it since the beginning. Now, on the giant kingfisher, the male has a rusty red coloration high up on his chest, so right up on the top here, just below that black part, whereas the female is much lower down towards almost the tail. This is where her rusty red is, and so that's how you can tell the difference between them as well. Right, now I'm going to just carry on down towards Tandi's den now. We'll just go down where it's at access, and then it's not too far from there. And so while we're making our way there, and speaking of Tandi, I believe Scotty has gone back towards that kill now that it's cooling down, and hopefully there'll be a little bit of action there at some stage soon.
Well, there's a whole bunch of action already. Look at all those flies going about their business, laying their eggs, which are probably, I mean, I guess some of them would have already hatched, but I guess a lot of them will already be consumed before they can actually hatch. The hyenas and leopard that are still going to feed on the remains of this kill will ingest all of those little eggs that would ordinarily hatch into maggots. To be honest, I'm quite surprised we're not seeing any maggots already. It's possibly just because the way the kill is dangling vertically from this tree, all the maggots are possibly falling out onto the ground as soon as they do hatch, because it has been sitting here for 4 days now, so there's been more than enough time for flies to come in. There we go, there we can see some maggots on the tongue. You can just see a whole bunch of little white things moving there. So, well done, flies. You've done a good job in making sure that your kiddies get a tasty snack and brought to life. There's no sign of Tundi. Oh, a hyena just popped up. I was looking down at my monitor, and it appears like our timing is spot on. It looks like a fairly young hyena. Look like, I'm guessing it's a female, judging from her size. Looks like she's in quite good condition. Now, is she going to jump up and try and get to it? Please, please try. Come on. Tristan had some incredible sighting this morning of a few hyena dangling from the remains of this kill. And if any of you weren't around to enjoy that, then hopefully the same thing will happen this evening. But I'm guessing what's happened is they've already chewed off all the bits that they can actually get to. They're going to really battle to reach up to it now. It's quite high for them to jump up, but they'll still lurk around you with the knowledge that if a leopard does come back, there's a chance she will drop some scraps for them. So it's going to be a very interesting scene if Tundi does arrive. The fact that she's not here at the moment is good prospects for Tristan, who is going to pop into her den site now, as I'm sure he's told you. So let's hope that you get to see her there. I would choose that over her coming here, as exciting as it would be to see her up the tree with the hyenas below. I really do hope you guys get a few more visual of Tundi's young cub. Sinak, you would like to know if vultures would feed on this? Yes, they would, and to be honest, I'm quite surprised vultures have caught wind that is a possible meal waiting here for them. I guess it's because it's quite well vegetated, this tree, so it's not going to be too easy for vultures to spot this kill. Had they have spotted it, there would have definitely been some sitting in the trees around us, and they will often try and feed on kills when they're in trees, especially if they are not being guarded by the predator that made the kill. So it would have been a great opportunity for vultures, battaliers to get an easy meal, but it seems like they didn't catch wind of it, and it's only last night that the hyenas did catch wind. It's quite interesting. It's been 2 nights by hyena. So what I'm thinking of doing now that we've established that Tundi's not here, and we are hoping that she's going to be at the den, I think it might be worth us swimming one more water hole to see if any animals have quenched their thirst after this incredibly hot afternoon, and then we will make our way back here for the kind of last half an hour or 20 minutes of the safari. Hyena are going to start getting a little bit more active and desperate, and hopefully latch on to the remains of this impala and do some dangling for us. Hello, Lily Rose. You would like to know, why do leopards lead a solitary life? I guess I could spin the question around, Lily Rose, back to you and ask, why are lions the only cats to have understood the benefits of living in a pride or living communally? There's no other predators other than male cheetahs that form coalitions, or at least predatory cats that live in groups. So the lion is the random one out here. It's not the leopard. Leopard, cheetah, most cats are solitary. So that is the case. So I think I'm going to be sending you across to Tristan now, and we're going to be doing a few little technical jiggles before the rest of the safari continues. So we'll see you a little bit later. Well done to the tech team for getting that little issue resolved so quickly. Sorry that there was a brief break in your safari. I hope you used the time wisely to stretch your legs, pour a drink, or grab a chocolate chip cookie. We are coming to you 120% live from the Sabi Sands in South Africa, and our plan is to head to a waterhole in the hope that we will see something quenching a thirst. Maybe a leopard. We saw an unknown male. And I think we've said goodbye for now to Taylor in the Mara. She's finished her shift, I believe. So you will be stuck with Tristan and myself for the final hour of this sunset safari. And I'm hoping it's going to be a good session. It should be, with Tristan heading towards the left. Up a tree not too far away from here means that we've got some good options for the last hour, in theory. Hopefully she is going to either be at the den or on her way to the kill. Even if she stays at the den and leaves the hyena that are lurking around the remainders of that kill, it'll still be possibly a cool sighting for us, because I'm hoping that they're going to continue to jump up and try and grab onto the remains of it and dangle from the tree. Tristan had a great time there this morning, watching those hyenas try to get whatever little bits of rancid impala. Some European bee-eaters flying. They ordinarily, Senzo, there's a very dead branches. No, to the right, to zoom out a bit, and then I can lead you in. Over these branches here. Zoom in there. I don't know what I was looking. I think it's flown away. I think I just saw it fly off again. And in this beautiful afternoon, or classes cuckoo, and they're quite shy and secretive, but I think it has moved off. So it's always a little risk with birds. Let's see what other birds we can try and find you at the water's edge. It's got a beautiful emerald green feather pattern that would glisten in this eye. The sun is in their favor. Okay, at first glance there doesn't seem to be too much happening here, but I'm just going to drop down and get the sunlight in our face. Alrighty. Now it is cooling down, but I'm still going to try and position us in a little bit of shade. There's a beautiful bird that I presume has just been taking an evening bath. It may continue to, just direct. Well, I'm glad we got it just before it turned around. So it is still taking its evening bath, and it's now ruffling its feathers, making sure it's clean, and now we can see it's exposing its more impressive side, its back and its wings. How is that? And I'm not sure when they got back into this area. They would have late November though, and they come from the central parts of Africa. They don't have a huge migration, not like some of the other birds that will come all the way from Mediterranean Europe to join us. I'm expecting to see quite a few white storks arriving in the coming weeks. I saw a post from a friend of mine in Kenya. A lot of them are arriving in Kenya at the moment, and they'll continue to make their way all the way down to the southernmost country on the continent. And I just find it absolutely astounding that birds travel that far in search of tasty food and good weather, I guess. Combination of the two. With the good weather comes lots of food. And this is certainly a great display of how beautiful the woodlands kingfisher is. There's another interesting bird, not nearly as brightly colored, but also quite a character. It's a local resident. It doesn't migrate. It's off to the right there. There we go. Twang! That's the call that the go-away bird lets out. And as you can see, it's obviously that time of the day for the birds to be doing some preening. I've got a wonderful little crest. And they were initially parts of a family of were once all luries, and that's changed their colors. The turacos have got so that explains that. Oh, interesting. We've just had a bird fly in and land at the water's edge here. It's a knob-billed duck. She doesn't have the large comb on her beak, but you can see a little bit of a dent above her nostrils, or a bit of a ridge. The males will have a very large kind of round disc that protrudes from the top of their beak between their eyes. Let me see if I can find a picture of one to show you. We don't see too many of these here. I wonder where it came in from, because I literally just hear it land in the water. I don't think I've seen any since I've been back here. Okay, it sounds like Tristan's having a tricky time getting into the den site, so I'm just going to talk it through to all of you, as well as Nikki, who's now directing the show, and then she can pass on this information to Tristan. Nikki, are you ready? Nicola? Okay, so basically, Nix, once he heads down into the so there's a 2-track that runs down into the Mulwati just south of the Wahlberg's Nest. Once he gets into the drain, about 20 meters, he mustn't follow my tracks that continue in the riverbed. He must drive up onto the bank and then and then back up onto the next bank. So he goes in the Mulwati, out of it, back into it, and then out of it again. But he needs to stay on the tree. That's the best I can do. I hope that helps. Good luck. Failing that, I'll just have to. I'll just. Tristan is making his way in towards a fairly newly established leopard's den site. So we've been monitoring the leopard for about a month now with the knowledge that she's had a cub. She was initially stashing it in a termite mound. 2 little cubs that were born about 2 years ago, and now she's moved to the 3rd known den. Thank you for reminding me. You said you've never seen this duck before. It's a new one for you, so let me show you what the male looks like. Oh, I think I'm... because I can't zoom in here, but if you look at that top one, you'll see it's got a slight ridge, and it's a male, but it says non-breeding. But at this time of the year, all comb ducks will be breeding, which makes me think that this is a juvenile male that we've just seen. Here you can see the males have got the very, very big disc on their beak. And here's the female over there. Let's have a flick through and see if we can find any nice photographs, because usually, very nice photograph. Who was this by? Not Craig. This photo was taken in just north of Johannesburg. Here's a few more. Oh, look at that shimmer and sheen on their wings. Very impressive. Overcast weather. You can see the very same bird doesn't look as impressive. Of course, it's not posing quite the same, but you get an idea of how different the iridescence is. You'd like to know, what does the knob-billed duck or comb ducks need that funny adaptation for? I can't think of anything vaguely reasonable that makes sense. Most do, but that's, you know, the fact that the males have got it and the females don't means that it could possibly help, you know, when they're fighting. That don't need that funny adaptation. Many. So I'm not too sure, but I, for the life of me, can't think of anything noteworthy to mention. Alrighty then. Well, I think now that we've checked that water hole, let's see if we can get this European bee-eater before it flutters off. Hold on, Sens. They're very, very pretty birds, and often they don't stick around for us to get a view of them. I was saying a little bit earlier that they're around, and so are their cousins, the carmine bee-eater. I've only seen one pair thus far, and I don't think anybody else has seen any yet. So looking forward to more of their cousins, the carmine bee-eaters, to come into the scene. They're also migrants. So that's some good prospects for the bird watchers who are with us. There's still a few migratory birds that we haven't ticked off the list yet, and a lot of them are incredibly beautiful. I think the carmine bee-eater is one of the most impressive. Let me not confuse you, this is a European bee-eater, which has come a very long way for our summer, and they've got a wonderful call, very easy to distinguish. Kurr, kurr, kurr. And they're often calling when they're flying, so you often hear them before you see them. Very, very good. Oh, they've just started calling now, but I can't see them. Hello. Kookaburras. I'm not 100% sure, but I would hazard a guess and say yes. They're a very, very similar looking bird. Kookaburras are huge, probably a similar size to the giant kingfisher that we get out in Africa, which is our biggest kingfisher. And kingfishers are quite widely spread across the world. It's not just in Africa that you get them. Same goes for a lot of bird species, but I'm actually not entirely sure. So if any Australians or part of the Kingfisher Club, please let us know. The thing with kingfishers is their names are a bit misleading. Most of them actually hunt insects, but we're not going to go down that road. You're going to go down a far more exciting road, and that is one that leads to Tundi's Den. It sounds like Tristan is in a decent spot. Why don't you go and see if that little cub is out and about? Ooh.
Well, I think we're in the right place. Going along what Scotty has spoken about and where he had his date nights, I feel like we're in the right place. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like it. I can see tracks from where Scott was this morning. There's a fallen tree, and the den, as far as I understood it, was somewhere in this area already prior to this morning. So I'm pretty sure I'm in the right place. At the moment, I don't see any sign of Tundi, which means that I can't stick around here for too long, but somewhere in this general vicinity is got big undulating gullies. It's shady, it's dense, there's thorn acacias right up against a bank, so it is really a good place for the cub to be hidden, and she's obviously done a really good job. It's funny because I was telling Ferg that on the day of the TV show, when we were looking for her den so desperately, the opinion that she's somewhere around here, and so we came and checked. Had we just driven an extra 100 meters, we would have probably been able to find her, because that's probably where she was, which is quite amazing. So it just goes to show sometimes you should trust your gut. But I don't see any sign of her right now. There was a bull elephant that just passed by about 5 minutes ago through this area, and I would have thought if there was an elephant around and us approaching, that she most definitely would have popped up her head. We know that she can sometimes be a little feisty, particularly around the den area, and so she would have definitely let us know she's here, and would have kind of poked her head up. So the fact that we're not picking her up at the moment generally would mean that we're not anywhere close to her, or she's off hunting and maybe is on her way back to Scott. I don't know. So I'm going to just go back down the drainage and up onto the other side, then just have another look around the back of this bush, because at the end of the day she could just be sleeping on the other side where it was maybe a bit shadier during the afternoon. But it is such a beautiful spot, and I can tell you, if she uses this for a little while longer and she starts to get a bit more comfortable with our presence, it's going to be the most amazing place, because there are lots of little areas here for this little one to absolutely have a field day in terms of playing. There's sand, there's fallen over trees, it's pretty much everything you could ask for and wish for from a little baby leopard point of view. It's going to be able to do all kinds of nonsense here, and so it'll be so much fun to spend time with her and this little one in this area if we are in the right spot. So it seems like we are. I mean, it's the directions Scotty gave are pretty spot on, and all the landmarks he gave me are right here, so sure he is in this just general vicinity. I've just got to try and find exactly where it is. Now I'm looking as we're going, just trying to check all the thickets, see maybe she's lying somewhere. The sun would have been really very warm.
Shame it sounds like you guys lost Tristan's signal there. Fear not. Site was not active, but what that maybe means is that Tundi is on her way back to the kill, which is just up ahead of us. We are just getting back on Thank you very much, James Richards, for assisting us once again in a bit of homework. And the kookaburras are in fact related to kingfishers. They are part of that same family, and I'm told that's wonderful stuff, and I really love and the questions and the puzzles out here, because like Taylor said a little bit earlier, there's just so much to take in and learn. Oh, there's a hyena here. Hello. I'm not sure if it's the same one that we saw earlier. Could be. Yeah, it does look like the same one. It was just difficult to say in the light earlier. A very, very pretty hyena. Hardly any scratches or scars, and it's going to walk right up along. Not very perturbed by our presence, which is just how we like it. Very good. Don't go. And we would love you to spice things up by being here. Using now has been used in the past, not that I'm aware of, and it's unlikely because she's fairly recently taken over her mother's territory. Her mother, a leopard called Kruger, is presumed to be dead, and she kind of disappeared and we stopped seeing her about 3-4 months ago, maybe even a bit longer than that now. So her daughter Tandi moved into the area, and it's her daughter from one of her first successful litters that she's ever raised. So she's certainly not a youngster, Tandi. She's been around the block. I think she's approaching 9 years of age, there and thereabouts. And what that means is that she's new to this area, and she wouldn't have necessarily had much time to do any analyzing of where the good spots for a den site. Goes to show that there's certainly not that many of them. It means that they're few and far between, and the leopard stands, I think, are better suited for den sites, areas with rocky outcrops. Have many possible den sites, and there's no strict rule for how long they keep their cubs in a den for, so who knows how much longer she will use this one. And I'll chat with Taxon and the other Djuma guides who spent many years here and see if they know that one has been used in the past. Oof, the smell is quite a lot of meat remaining up in the tree there with this impala kill. Certainly enough to warrant a journey from her den back to the site. It's not far, it's only about a mile from here to her den site, so it'll take her 10 minutes to walk here. My heart just skipped a beat. I saw some movements and I thought it was her, but it was just the hyena coming back onto the scene. It's behind the vehicle at the moment, but I'm guessing it will pop into a better view where we can show it to you shortly. I think it's just going to walk around the right-hand side of the vehicle here. And one patient hyena at least has seen the benefits in lurking about with the knowledge that there should still be a few more scraps that even the leopard won't necessarily be able to chew on, and will therefore sacrifice and leave for the hyena. It'll be so cool if we see her come back now, because she'll have to kind of slink up onto the tree. She'll get the... And once she's up in the tree, I mean, she's not going to be that much higher than them. So it'll be an incredible scene. I'm going to probably devote the rest of the afternoon drive to this very spot, because there is a good chance that if Tandi's not at the den, she is making her way here. Let's just hope she doesn't get caught up having a snooze or quenching her thirst along the way, which she could well do, because even though it is cooling down, it's still a hot afternoon. Aha! Now we've got Ashley. Be arriving onto the scene. And for those of you who weren't on the sunrise of this crime behind me, evening, and it's a good question, Ashley. You may find that some of the hyenas will decide not to come back and I'd rather leave that. Once the sun dips below the horizon, that is when the hyena are going to start to move. So any time from about 6:30 onwards, which is sadly when the safari finishes, but I think that is when to the night, depending on how much audio comes from here, depending, there might be a few hyena that haven't actually been here yet, and they've possibly going to be getting the very strong smells of this carcass. They might come and investigate for the first time. The wind started blowing towards us. It's kind of swirling around, and every now and then we get quite a few flies buzzing about to add to the drama of this scene. Oof. Come on, leopard, come back and stake claim to the rest of your meal. I think I'm going to actually have to reposition slightly. Earlier when we had a look for 4 days now, and in the summer heat, it has really begun to get quite smelly, understandably. And what's further interesting is that the leopard will still have no problems feeding on this. If anything, it's going to be easier to feed on than when it first killed. Hello to a hyena, and I wonder, there's always textbook ages and kind of stats that are given out, and I'm guessing your average hyena will probably live for about 12 years as an average length, and that is just a guess. And the reason I say that it's a good question is because hyenas are very tricky animals to follow, and here in the Sabi Sands, leopards are followed very, very closely, and there have been some leopards whose lives have been documented literally from the day they were born until the day they die. Obviously there's missing pieces of the puzzle, but they will know exactly how old that animal is. They'll see its mother pregnant one day, the next day they'll see she's given birth, and therefore they'll know the exact age of it. With hyenas, it's going to be a little bit more tricky because, as a general rule, they aren't followed as widely, and unless you're a hyena researcher in a given area, they're not as well followed as your big cats. So I think, there's going to be varying ages and lifespans of hyena depending on whereabout in Africa they live. Their behavior will depend or vary very greatly depending on where in Africa they are. Here they live in small clans. Up in the Masai Mara, the same hyena, the spotted hyena, lives in massive clans. They do a lot more hunting quite greatly depending on where they are in Africa. So have lived. Do males live longer than females? All of which I'm not too sure on, but I'm quite confident that around 12 years of age would be considered a good lifespan for a life of a hyena. I wonder why that one's walking around in circles so much, hoping possibly that a friend comes along to give it some company and assistance in troubleshooting how to get the remainder of this meat from the tree. Me to stay put here. So I'm torn. What do you guys think? Should we go and take a little 10-minute soiree to go and see if she's at a little mud wallow nearby where she was seen drinking yesterday, or should we stay here? The first 3 people to put their answers in will be the ones that we listen to, so it'll be or the first 3 of you to determine what we get up to. Now, one of you is interested to know if any small birds will come and peck at the impala carcass in the tree. Feeding on a kill, it's only vultures and battaliers as a general rule. Sometimes tawny eagles come and you get one or two other eagles that will also scavenge from time to time, but none of the smaller kind of raptors have I ever seen nibbling on these easy meals. You would think a bird that likes eating flies would be perched nearby her, because it would be a righteous feast. Okay. To us, so we don't know exactly what language it is. The text is a bit funny, but you would like to know, why have the vultures not found this yet? And basically the reason being is that if a kill like this is in a tree with leaves above it, which there are plenty of leaves above it, when the vultures are flying above the land looking for kills, they can't see the kill because it's hidden by leaves. Senzo, if you just go wide there, you see there's a whole umbrella of leaves that is camouflage just to see. And lions and leopards and a lot of the predators will often the vultures to initially drag them under a bush because they're still quite heavy to lift up into a tree, and once they've fed on them a little bit and made them, three of you at least have gotten back to us as to what we should do, so I'm looking forward to hearing. But sadly, you in this safari democracy, so I'll try and make it quick, Donna, so that we don't miss out on any action. Okay, don't go anywhere, Impala. Okay, I'm just in and out, backwards and forwards. I battled to sit still, and Texan was waiting patiently at the kill. He's one of the Djuma guides, and he said, Scott, come on, she's arrived. So she managed to slink in without me seeing her, while I was kind of figure of eighting through her likely entrance route, which should bring her onto this road. She should come through here somewhere, but no sign ahead. I'm guessing Tristan might also be wanting to check this, so we might bump into him too. No. Clear for now. No sign of it. Shame, it sounds like Tristan's under a full attack from some gremlins, so we'll let him fight those off and try and work out what the issue is there. Monique, thanks for sending through your comment, reassuring me that I should not worry about that impala going anywhere. It seems to be having a bit of a snooze, so yes, you're right. Thank you for reassuring me. I'm still feeling like we need to rush though, because I'm feeling bad that Donna got outvoted by Victoria and Vicious Delicious. So I'm going to try and be as quick as possible, just to check this little mud wallow and then get back to the kill. The mud wallow is just up ahead. So it seems like the gremlins were not only attacking Tristan, but also YouTube, a double attack. That's why I kept quiet for a moment there. Okay, so we've arrived at the mud wallow. Will she be here? Or will she be somewhere else? It appears like she is nowhere to be seen. So, we are going to make our way back to the safari, and while we do that, we are going to send you back to Tristan to see how he is getting along.
Well, Scotty, we're also just checking all of these little watery points close by in the hope that she's maybe drinking. This morning when I went and checked, she was right there. It's just that she was lower down, and there's no visual from one side if you're on the top of the bank, and if you're on the drainage side, there's no visual either side. So I want to maybe check around there. Maybe she's just lying in a shady section and we just didn't see her because we went down into the drainage side where Scotty had her this morning, and maybe she's on top. The water points first, and maybe she's
Okay, as you can see, I've been busted. We haven't moved a muscle since you left. I was just chatting with Nikki. Shame Nikki's not feeling too well. She's got some gremlins of her own. So I was just checking in to see how she was feeling. And now we go back. Again. Wee-hoo-wee. They're much smaller. The Mara. These are the short wheelbase petrol engine as opposed to sluggish diesel engines, so they're very responsive. Doing some chasing down of wild dogs on the hunt. They're one of the best. Hi Tom, you'd like to know if the guides ever wish for automatic transmissions as opposed to stick shift. I personally don't. I hate driving automatics. I'm not sure why. It's probably because I've driven stick shifts my whole life. And to be honest, in a lot of, I guess they could be okay. I've never driven a, I don't even know if they do make automatic. There's no such thing as an automatic Land Rover, I don't think. But if they were to make one, I guess it would be worth trying it out. But I've got a feeling for when the off-roading gets quite hectic, it's nice to be able to change gears. Also, automatic cars, if they run out of, that would be risky business with what we do. It's very useful for us to be able to push start or pull start the car if there's any battery issues, whereas automatics, you don't have that joy. Oh, morning Gloria, apologies. You don't know what I've been talking about. To be honest, most of it's been absolute nonsense, so you haven't missed out on too much, and that's due to all the buffering and glitches we've been experiencing. Basically, we had a vote off between the 3 quickest responders on the safari this afternoon, and they basically decided that we should leave the Impala kill and go off in search of a little possible waterhole where Thandi could have been drinking. So that was one of the discussions we had. And also been telling people that Nikki is feeling a little bit sick this afternoon, so Ashley had to take over the directing for a while. Alrighty then, well, it seems like we haven't missed out on anything. And thank you very much to everyone who is sending Nikki some get better soon messages. She was, she just got a bit of a bug, it appears, that's popped in to the fray this morning. Hopefully it's not malaria. That would be terrible. Hello! Now I was hoping to be able to get some kind of backlighting. Setting sun, and I'm very relieved that you're calling you today. So, will Thandi come back, or has she abandoned this kill? Who knows? And even though a lot of okay, apologies everyone, it seems like the and nothing stopping them and their business. I was saying, I think it's highly unlikely that Thandi has completely abandoned this kill. I've never actually seen a leopard abandon the mouth and in and around the exposed parts of the neck. There will still be some parts of meat that have been unexposed to flies and will therefore not be as rancid, I think it's fair to say. So the bits that are still covered by fur, and there's quite a lot of meat in and around that neck section that I think she will be able to tuck into. But no sign of her just yet. So I'm hoping she is going to grace us with her presence before it's over. But I think it's fair to say the clock is definitely ticking. Now all of those frayed tendons and sinews are from hyenas that have been latching onto this kill in the early hours of the morning, dangling from it, trying to rip chunks of meat off. And they definitely managed to get to, but horns will eventually break off. What's likely to happen is that this kill from the tree, in all likelihood Thandi, the leopard that made this kill, I don't think she's finished feeding on it. I think she's definitely going to come back. There's no saying that she actually knew any hyena came onto the scene initially. She could have left the kill once she had fed on it enough, headed back to her cubs, and only then could the hyenas have come onto the scene. Which means she'll presume there to still be some meat here. And when she does feed on it further, I'm almost certain she will dislodge those horns from the spot that they are in. And then once the head hits the ground, even if she's fed on the majority of the meat, hyena will definitely crunch on the lower jaw, the nose, the ears. There's a lot of portions of the skull and singular, and most often when we find down the center, and often that's where it breaks, and I guess a lot of the animals will be trying to get to the brain and parts of the skull to feed on, so it's unlikely it is going to stay intact. Will certainly be, and we've just got a wonderful message from Alan, who we actually met. Wonderful to meet you. Words. Alan says he has a newfound respect for what we do and the kind of toils and tributes. Alan, and wonderful that you are now back home safely. I hope you had a great safari out here, and it's important that all of you know that as and when you do want to come out on safari to the Sabi Sands, you can come out and visit us. You just need to let us know in advance, and we'll plan for you guys to be able to pop into the camp, meet the crew, and get a taste of what exactly we get up to. And they wouldn't have listened. Vehicle for Tundi's grand entrance, which I'm just positive.
Well, Scotty, it's been a struggle. Built up maybe a bit too much heat. We had to quickly just power down for a bit and turn back on, and now everything seems to be working. Ah, Ellie's. Hello. Ellie's. Of signal in this area, and I needed to give Scotty a break. If anybody deserves to have a epic sighting of Tundi arriving now in the last minute, as well as just to have a breather, it is Scotty D. But this is about to be one of those most spectacular sightings, because we've got a sun setting on our left hand side, we've got a herd of elephants in the big open clearing, so this should just be absolutely spectacular. So hopefully this will be very nice. I'm going to try and position ourselves so that we can get it. First we'll watch the Ellies just come past us and meander past, and then once they've meandered anyway, it should work out that way. There you can see them just coming through, and I must be honest, this is probably my absolute favorite area to watch Ellies cross and to walk through. It's just with the trees and the short grass, it's always such a beautiful picture when these guys are around, and so I absolutely love watching them moving in these sections. It looks like that one's going to stop for a little suckle, and then they're going to carry on. Now the thing is it's actually a very small herd. There's only 4 of them that I can see at the moment, so 1 adult female, and then it looks like all of her offspring, so her youngest with her, and then her middle child, which will be that one, and then the eldest child on the right hand side. So it seems as though it's just kind of her little grouping. Maybe the rest are still coming up the hill, or have already gone over and have moved off into a different direction. But there's the eldest one. You can see it's much larger than the others, and it'll be, these are all her offspring, which is quite amazing. So it is very cool to see. It's not short trunks herd either, so for those of you that are bulls are around, but it's not her that's in front there. The trunk is absolutely whole. Now, funny enough, earlier the herd that we saw crossing over from Sydney's and into Simbambili, that herd, there is an individual in that herd that has got also a shortened trunk. It's a young male in this case, so he's also unfortunately fallen foul of something. Although his trunk doesn't look like damage from a snare like short trunks does, his looks more like he's been bitten by hyenas or crocodile or something like that, because it's a very uneven end to it, and it almost looks like scarring on the trunk itself, which a snare doesn't normally cause. A snare normally cuts the trunk completely. Catherine, you're saying you haven't seen? Not, then I actually don't know half trunk at all. I've not seen an elephant with half a trunk here. Is what we're referring to, half trunk, short trunk. I'm sure it's the same individual. And yes, her trunk is very short, and obviously she hasn't been seen in, I would say, probably about 2 months since the last time we saw her. Did you see her? Yeah. James and Ferg saw her on Friday apparently, so there we go. That's quite nice. I haven't seen her for a few weeks now, but James and Ferg saw her on Friday after the TV show on the way home apparently, which is fantastic news. So well done, you guys. Now this is what I wanted, is hopefully they'll stop here for a little, but they're kind of just going a little too far. Let's maybe try get in front a little bit, but let's try get in front through the trees a little bit. So there we go, a little bit more. Sorry Ferg, I thought I'd perfect open plains of Africa under the big marula trees. It does not get any better than that in a way to finish your day. As much absolutely beautiful and special in its own right. Like I say, that is as good as it gets when you're watching Ellie's, when you've got that sun in the background, and like I say, nice and open and clear. And clear, and they're here because of all the new grasses that are growing and little herbaceous plants, fruit that dropped last year and the seeds that were deposited, and so they're getting stuck in to all of that, as well as the nutritious grass that is around. So you can see they really are feeding quite nicely. But how beautiful is that? Like I say, the iconic marula tree in the back for the Sabi Sands with the big setting sun, and Ellie's in the foreground is as good as it gets, that's for sure. And there's one going to have a little scratch, and there we go. Sun just is dipping below that western horizon now, so it's the last few minutes of proper sunshine, and that will end a very hot day. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm quite glad to see that sun going down this afternoon, because it has been quite warm. So it's not, and that you're saying a big thank you. Well, you need to say thank you to the elephants, and ultimately they've spoilt us by to finish our afternoon and our little jaunt into the African wilderness for the sunset. It really has been absolutely wonderful. Now, unfortunately, it is that time of the day. Second appearance, unfortunately, for Scotty, but he does need a big pat on the back and maybe an apple juice for his, as well as the fact that he Ferg, Senzo. It's been an absolute pleasure, and Nikki and the FC will see you all tomorrow on the Sunrise Safari.